Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. If you're absolutely addicted to the game of basketball like I am, make sure you click that red subscribe button down below and you light up that post notification bell so you do not miss any future content on this channel. So I have tons of friends and family that are Philadelphia 76ers fans since I live in the South Jersey area, and they're just absolutely hungry for an NBA championship. They have not won an NBA championship since the mid-'80s when they had Julius Erving, when they had Moses Malone on the roster, Murray's Cheeks, etc. They're very hungry. They're one of the most passionate fan bases in the world. Not just 76ers fans, Eagles fans, Philly fans, like Philadelphia Phillies fans, I'm saying. So they want to see this team win a championship. They want to see the 76ers take advantage of Joel Embiid's prime while he's healthy and at least 100%. He just came off of an MVP. You could say he's played like an MVP the last few regular seasons, I'm saying there. We could talk a lot about the construction of the basketball team. Brett Brown wasn't the right coach. Doc Rivers wasn't the right coach. But they just continuously lose in the second round of the playoffs. And when they did have their best constructed roster with Jimmy Butler, who may have not been the most talented player on that team. Joel Embiid's more talented than Jimmy Butler, but Jimmy Butler had more of that dog mentality and leadership. They lose in very heartbreaking fashion to the Toronto Raptors on a triple, a million bounce shot by Kawhi Leonard in the corner, one of the most historical shots in NBA history. They go on to be upset by the Atlanta Hawks. They go on to be upset by the Miami Heat in the second round. They just cannot get over that hump. And this was probably one of their best opportunities to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals. When you take on the Celtics, you're up. You have a chance to close out this series in 6, and I feel like they're playing with their food too much. I didn't see that hunger from a Joel Embiid. I didn't see that hunger from a James Harden, that it's like, I'm going to take over when it matters most. I feel George Niang, I believe, hit a couple shots, but Jason Tatum was way too much for them when it came to that fourth quarter. Struggles once again when it comes to the first half, but when it comes to the second half, specifically that fourth quarter, big shot after big shot, that's what good players do. And you just didn't get that feeling from the 76ers that they truly wanted. It's forced to a Game 7, one of the most embarrassing Game 7s I've ever seen. I understand Joel Embiid was not fully healthy in that series. He has not gone to the playoffs consistently healthy. But if you're good enough to play, you give it your all out there on the floor. And it looked like Joel Embiid didn't give a shit at all. Honestly, that was one of the worst games I've seen Joel Embiid play. He looked lazy on defense. He looked like he didn't want the ball on offense. He turned the ball over 4 times. James Harden, 2 40-plus point games in that series. He was like going up with the floaters. He was aggressive, but he was balancing it out with the playmaking, the pick and pop action with Joel Embiid in mid-range territory in Game 5, which the 76ers absolutely thrived in. And I believe that game was in Boston when James Harden went off. A couple games he went off, but James Harden looks so passive. He looks scared, and you just can't count on Harden to thrive in these big moments. You just can't. When the series is on the line, can you count on Harden? And I'm a big Embiid guy. I think he's one of the most talented centers in the league, but it was just absolutely unacceptable the way he performed out there on the floor. Tobias Harris, you can't count on him in the second round of the playoffs on a consistent basis. First round of the playoffs was awesome versus the Nets. The only guy that looked like he really gave a shit out there on the floor was Tyrese Maxey, and he can have a potentially increased role. So the 76ers just keep falling short when it comes to second round of the playoffs. They want to see Joel Embiid hold up a Larry O'Brien trophy. And I'm honestly frustrated with Joel Embiid, how he kind of threw his teammates under the bus like after they lost that series, when it's like, you played like dog shit. You played awful. And when he went on that podcast saying, or interview or whatever, he was like, I want to win a championship if it's with Philly or anywhere else. Like, he's acting like he dropped 40 in an elimination game when he played like shit. We could talk about the roster construction. You could talk about the pieces around him, but he played with no heart. And I feel that's scary if you have to question the heart, or you have to question, like, when you're coaching someone, you question like how much you truly want it. Like, you should always want it out there on the floor. Joel Embiid, you have constantly fallen short in the second round of the playoffs. Don't you want to execute to the next round? Don't you want to execute? Give it your all out there on the floor. So they fall short. Halftime, this is a close game. In the second half of that Game 7, the Celtics just absolutely embarrassed them. In Game 7, Tatum goes off for 50. Like, it was truly embarrassing. I'm not a fan of Doc Rivers. I thought that was the right decision firing him. I thought that was the right decision. I feel he holds guys accountable, but not to, like, he holds guys accountable but doesn't make adjustments. throughout his career, I know he's won a championship with Boston, but even with Boston, with the Clippers, and obviously previously with the Philadelphia 76ers, by the way, doesn't even have a job in the NBA right now, Doc Rivers. In these elimination games, he has chances to close out series, doesn't do it. When it comes to his rotations, I'm just not a big fan of Doc Rivers. I do think he won a championship based off of just historically great talent. I think he's maybe a mediocre coach. So they go out there and they hire Nick Nurse. And Joel Embiid kind of did throw some shade at Nick Nurse before in the past when they're going up against the Raptors, but that's just competitive spheres. Obviously, it's going to be way different when he is your coach. So you have Joel Embiid that's not fully locked in with the Sixers right now. If he's saying, if you truly love the Sixers, you'll say, I'm winning a championship here. You're not even thinking about winning a championship somewhere else. You get Nick Nurse, who has coached some length, athleticism, solid skill sets, and Fred VanVleet, Siakam, obviously Kawhi, Marcus Gasol, veteran, Serge Ibaka, OG Anunoby was hurt during that finals run, won a championship. You could say Kawhi was obviously a big-time part of that. But Nick Nurse is kind of the opposite, that he relates to players but holds them accountable. He's willing to try new things, make adjustments. I really do like Nick Nurse in that regard. But is he the right coach when it comes to these starters? Right now, the 76ers depth, I'm not a big-time fan of. And he gives starters a lot of minutes. He gave Siakam 37 minutes per game. Scotty Barnes, 35 minutes per game. They'll be up on the screen. He gave starters tons of minutes, while a guy with Embiid, but keep in mind, these guys stayed healthy, though. They played a good amount of portion of the season. Siakam, I believe, played 71 games. They all played 60-plus games. The main guys, OG Anunoby, etc. But some guys' bodies are different, so it's going to be different with Embiid. They lack the depth. Is he going to play the starters even more? But even besides that, you put that aside, you have James Harden's option that was picked up by the Philadelphia 76ers because they're trying to find a trade destination for him. He's not happy within the organization. So this is a mess. And Embiid has a good relationship with Harden. He wants Harden to stay there. And Daryl Morey's going to try to get the most for Harden. But you have Harden that's getting older. He's one of the best facilitators, one of the best passers, has one of the best signature moves in the game of that step back. Very nice Euro step. He can initiate offense at a very high level, runs the pick and roll to perfection, excellent timing. But what are you getting back for him? He's aging. If he's not happy in a situation, or you don't know when he's going to be in shape. And obviously you could sign him to, obviously it's a player option, so the contract cannot be so bad if he goes somewhere else. But can you trust him in big moments? A team could be no, he's really talented, but how much does he really want it? That could always be a question. So, are the Sixers going to try to bring back Harden and be come on, you got to stay, we got to keep Embiid happy? Is that part of it? But if I'm a Sixers fan, I'm F all that. We've seen the Harden experiment. We're done. We're done with it. So, they're in such a weird situation right now. If Harden leaves or they trade him, I don't even know what they're going to trade him for. I'm really interested to see what his value is. Can Maxi step into that Harden role? And Maxi has an extremely great work ethic. He's one of my favorite players on the Sixers. He can score the heck out of the basketball from all three levels. He's improved his game so much since Kentucky. It's crazy. He was one of the worst three-point shooters coming out of that draft back in 2020. And talk about a steal, getting drafted in the mid-20s. But coming out of Kentucky, he was not a great three-point shooter. This dude shot over 42% from three this past season. He can create off the screens to get into that mid-range pull-up jumpers, sidestep threes, drive strong to the basket. He's a blur in transition. He can pick your pocket. Only averaged 3.5 assists. But the thing is, even though Harden I can't trust in the really big moments, or Sixers fans can't trust in the really big moments, he's a very talented player. But the thing is, who's your facilitator if Harden leaves? Can you trust someone to make the consistent pass? Will Maxi just develop into that? There's going to be some growing pains with that. You're trying to win a championship. The Eastern Conference Finals, I don't even think Sixers fans care about that. It's oh, that's a tease. I know it's improvement, but we're trying to win the damn championship. It's been like that. We continuously lose in the second round. So who's your facilitator? You have Tobias Harris that's making the most money on his contract this upcoming year, that he's going to be a free agent in 2024. Thrives in the first round of the playoffs. Good defender in the regular season. Solid shot creator with followaways. Good solid three-point shooter in the regular season. Second round of the playoffs, can you count on him? I feel they don't have consistently mentally tough players on this team. The Philadelphia 76ers. I feel Nick Nurse did a good job. He probably talked to Daryl Morey, or I'm not sure what the discussion was. Obviously, former Rocket, former Chicago Bulls, played on some teams. Patrick Beverly, I did like that you get this mentally tough player. You need some irrational confidence guys that think they're better than what they are, and some players need that. Some players need that, but Patrick Beverly will get up in your jersey. He'll shit talk a Joel Embiid and a Tyrese Maxey, and that'll make them more mentally tough in games, potentially. So I do like that as a backup piece. But let's keep in mind, I'm not saying these guys are world beaters or fantastic players, but they lost depth in free agency. One of the most puzzling moves, or one of the most puzzling things in free agency, was that during the season, mid-season trade, 3-team deal, you got the Hornets in it, you got the Trailblazers, you got the 76ers. You go on to deal Matisse Thybulle, who I understand, Matisse Thybulle's a good defender, good athlete, but lacks touch, wasn't a good, consistent three-point shooter with the Philadelphia 76ers. And you go on to get Jalen McDaniels from the Hornets. Not Jalen McDaniels that's on the Timberwolves, but Jalen McDaniels, he got length. I believe he has more upside offensively. He's a good athlete, very long. I'm like, oh, I like that. I thought he played decent for the 76ers, but then you just let him walk in free agency to the Toronto Raptors. Thybulle goes over there to Portland, shooting 37% from threes, automatically a better three-point shooter. So you lose some defense there. I'm not saying it's a huge loss, but they didn't really cover that up by bringing in some other piece to really help out there. Georges Niang, you lose to the Cleveland Cavaliers, who's in our conference, because I'm a Knicks fan. Solid three-point shooter, turnstile defensively. You lose him. Shake Milton up and down the rotation. He goes to Minnesota. You lost some scoring off the bench. You really did. So is Embiid going to get 37 minutes per game? I do understand, though, if some people don't know, the reason why he falls is because it actually prevents injuries, so then, his knee doesn't buckle. I know that sounds absolutely crazy, but a lot of people are like, why does Embiid flop a lot and all that? It's actually to prevent injuries if you did not know that. So the 76ers, you have Harden that wants to be traded, preferably to the Clippers. Embiid, he didn't request a trade, but he's saying if I win a championship, if it's with the Sixers or somewhere else, I'll be happy. Tobias Harris, last year of his contract, but you can't count on this dude consistently. I like Anthony Melton, solid defender, good three-point shooter. But in Game 7, where was he? It's like the whole team didn't show up. See, that's on Doc Rivers for not having the guys prepared, but also Embiid, you're the MVP. You're one of the best players in the league. It's Game 7, go to work. You've had games that you've shown that you're that guy in the playoffs, and then it's like, where are you? I'm an Embiid guy, but it's just absolutely unacceptable. Harden, unacceptable. Tobias Harris, unacceptable. It's just really, really bad. So, projected starting lineup, they still have James Harden in it. But if you look at their bench, I did like this move, though. I wonder if they're going to run like Paul Reed at the 4. But I think they like having Tucker in the corner. Tucker's about to be 40 years old. Obviously, they signed, a couple off seasons ago. He's going to probably lose a step defensively. He's definitely a trash talker. He's a mentally tough player. But where's he as well? I think he started off hitting a couple threes, and then it's like he disappeared in Game 7. But Paul Reed, they went on to match the offer from the Utah Jazz. He was a restricted free agent. Nick Nurse is a fan of Paul Reed. Paul Reed said that Nick Nurse talked to him about he could have a Siakam skill set or make him like Siakam. And yeah, Paul Reed, he has tons of talent. He's ability to be a solid shot blocker. He's a freak athlete. He's a lob threat. He's a blurred transition running the floor. Beast on the offensive glass. He's solid touch. So maybe he does expand his jumper even more, and maybe he could be a gem for them. But I like Paul Reed, and Nick Nurse could probably develop him. But you look at the bench, I like Patrick Beverly. Anthony Melton, solid shooter. Korkmaz is coming off your bench, but he wants to be traded. He's made it clear, or reports have come out, that he's been wanting to be, that he wants to be gone, I believe, even during the season going on. Daniel House, good defender, but not a floor spacer. You're lacking offensive creation unless they bring up Jaden Springer to play more. I'm just lost with this team. You look at the lineup, there's just no big-time guarantees. Harden could be gone. I like Maxi, and I like Embiid, but I'll say it again, Embiid, come on, man. It's like you won the MVP, but now step up in the playoffs. You look at Embiid, his last 2 elimination games, kind of unacceptable. Again, I understand that he's not been fully healthy when he's gone to the playoffs, but at least show effort. I've not seen that from Embiid when it comes to these elimination games. So you look at his 2 recent elimination games, Game 7 versus Boston. In 38 minutes, he has 15 points. That's already not acceptable. 15 points for the MVP, 8 rebounds, 2 blocks. He shot 5 of 18 from the field, 27.8%. He was 0 for 4 from 3. 3 fouls, turned the ball over. He had 4 turnovers. And then you look at the Miami game, season before elimination game, in 44 minutes, 20 points. He had 12 rebounds, 2 assists. He had 2 turnovers. He was 7 of 24 from the field, 29%, 2 of 8 from 3. The best players rise to the occasion through any adversity. And I don't know. You guys think the Sixers are in trouble? Or am I just overreacting? I think they have solid pieces, but literally it's championship or bust. I don't want to hear, oh, but they have like a solid future. No, they're trying to win a championship. You have Embiid. Embiid's 29 years old. He's gonna be 30 in March. Let me know down below your thoughts on these Philadelphia 76ers. Peace out, y'all.